Already going. Buckle up here. And welcome back to The Hill, as it was a big win for President Biden against the state of Texas today. The Supreme Court siding with the administration, clearing the way for Border Patrol agents to remove razor wire along a busy stretch of the southern border. Now, that wire was destroyed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, or at least ordered to be destroyed, whose office responded to the ruling this way, saying, quote, "The case is ongoing, and Governor Abbott will continue fighting to defend Texas's property and its constitutional authority to secure the border." Scott, Ford, two attorneys, Democrat, Republican. Come on in.
Well,
go ahead, counsel.
The law has no politics in it, quite frankly.
Oh, really? Is that so?
You think this was a good decision, and
Well,
Ford's already saying they're going to start sending more cases out.
I think this, let me just say this. I think this decision's a shame. The Border Patrol Union agrees with me on this. I knew that John Roberts was not going to have a spine because of the 2014 previous ruling. As the Supreme Court justice, he has to follow stare decisis. But when it comes to Amy Coney Barrett, I figured she'd fight a little bit tougher. I do think we're going to revisit this in another format because this argument about where illegal immigration takes place, where does it start, where does it end, how much of it is a federal issue, how much of it isn't, is still uncharted territory.
It's not uncharted. You're just wrong about that, and I'll tell you why. Because it's not going to change. States' rights, regardless of how conservatives want to see it, they have no jurisdiction over immigration law. It sits squarely within the federal bucket, and it's not going to change. I don't care who the justices are. And what the court said here was they don't have jurisdiction to put up wires, to kill people, to impact immigration, no matter how much.
Or to protect American citizens.
You know, no, they didn't say that either.
Or to protect American citizens.
What they said was you have no jurisdiction to do it. Those wires are inhumane, and as a result,
what's inhumane is Biden's policy.
You think this is just a test case?
I think this is a test.
And what'd you say during the break? More cases?
There's going to be more cases, and you're going to keep sending them up there like flares on the 4th of July.
Okay.
The decision won't change.
Denise, Amisha, the Biden administration says the wire prevents agents from reaching migrants who have already crossed over the border into the U.S. Are they right on the policy front here?
They absolutely are. And to a point that was made just a moment ago, that this is not only inhumane, people are dying, but in addition to that, we continue to see time and time again Republicans bring forth more ideas that are just as bad, from the moat with the alligators to more and more issues related to policies that are just wild and detrimental to these individuals. This is a federal issue. The federal government needs to handle it. Congress needs to come up with a plan. Republicans need to get off their tails and agree to one that works, and let's just move along. 302,000
migrant encounters in the month of December, Denise.
I mean, because I was on the Immigration Journal at Georgetown Law School, and I remember when we were talking about whether or not to give amnesty to folks as opposed to whether or not we use razor wire at the border. And I think one of the travesties in all of this is that the Border Patrol hasn't been empowered to actually do its actual job, which is why we have these reactions from the Texans. And I think that politically, when I look at it through just a pure political lens, I think it's not a winning argument for Republicans to stand on to see what's happening to the people coming on board, even if you're right on the law.
You agree with her there?
No, I don't, actually, because Joe Biden's approval on the border is 18% according to ABC poll. When it comes to the term securing the border and what's happened, when you had kids locked out of their school in New York to house illegal immigrants, that is the issue that the Republicans are going to carry into the general election. That is the point.
No, that's not my point.
Okay.
You're arguing a different point. My point is when you look at it from just the average everyday Joe perspective of what's going on with the migration patterns, you have the human side and you also have the side that says we must enforce these laws. And loving your neighbor means loving both the people that are here and the people who are being trespassed against, as well as those who are trespassing. And I think it's a losing argument when you start seeing the images of the people who are coming over for the Republicans in the long run.
CBS
and
News
this is a conservative Supreme Court who ruled in favor of Biden.
CBS News poll, how do you rate the president's handling of the border? Only a third approve, basically 2/3 disapprove. All right, thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.